What's up everyone? Today I have a pretty exciting unboxing from Moyu. I think I know what this is. It's either a 4x4 or a smart 2x2. Either way, pretty excited. Alright, guess it's a 4x4. It's called the Aosu V7. It says it's the triple track magnetic magic cloth version. That's a mouthful. But I think there should be 4 versions here if you can read Chinese. Luckily I can. So the first 2 versions have 96 magnets. This one has 112 magnets. And this one, which is this cube, the triple track version apparently, has 160 magnets. That's pretty crazy. Has to be some sort of core magnets then. Box is pretty simple, which is good. Accessories, anything special here? Not really, it's a screwdriver. And then the actual cube, no cube box. And how is it so hard to get off?
10 years later.
There it is. I'm actually really excited for this cube. For those who don't know, 4x4 is probably one of my main events these days. I don't really do square one, so this is the fun event I do on the side. UV coated, which is good. You can tell from the lighting as well. Looks and feel wise, it feels a bit smaller, and it feels like the outer layers are bigger than the inner layers. I'm not sure how that would affect parity and all. But the overall cube size is pretty small, which I think is good. But either way, first turns. Okay. So immediately what I notice is the magnets, they're pretty strong in these inner layers. Some of the strongest I've ever felt on a 4x4. Outer layers are pretty standard. But yeah, inner layers are pretty strong. I'm not sure if that's because there's 160 magnets or something, but pretty strong. Not really any auto alignment though. Just feels strong. Speed of the puzzle is not that fast. It's not too slow either. It's pretty balanced, controllable feel. Not too bad, but I wish it would have been a bit faster. We'll see how it changes with setup. In hand, it feels pretty comfortable. The size, even though I'm used to a bit of a smaller cube, still doesn't feel bad. And I think the outer layers being a bit bigger actually helps a lot during the cubity stage. I feel like these kind of turns are very comfortable. Let's try inner moves. I'll be honest, that's a bit uncomfortable. The inner layers are a bit smaller, so slice moves obviously going to be a bit harder. For 4 blind solvers, probably not ideal. I feel like my fingers catching a bit on the sides here. But it's not undoable, just a bit different. Performance though, out of the box is already top tier. Tensions are pretty good. Corner cutting, solid, not amazing. It's solid though, almost 45. Checking out reverse, also not bad. There's some catching issues when it's like pretty far. But like these smaller cuts, bit of effort. This cutting is a bit catchy. So far, pretty impressive with this cube. It's not blowing me away, but it's a really solid cube. And out of the box, probably the best one I've tried. I want to see how a saw feels like on this cube. Honestly, for double parity, that's really good. The more and more I solve this cube, I feel like I'm enjoying it more and more. Alright, let's check out the magnets. The pieces are pretty hard to get out, which I think is a good thing. That means it should have less pops. So let's see what we have going on here. We have, I think, a ball core in the middle, but nothing too special from this mech. But you can tell there's magnets on the side of the edges from here. That's pretty cool. Corners have magnets for the ball core. Very important. People mention how this kind of magnet style is not good on even layer cube because basically half the time I think these magnets don't even work for inner moves, but there's no noticeable difference I'm feeling. So this is actually not bad. And then here's the edge piece. So magnet on the side and 2 magnets I think on top. I really don't understand how this works. I'm guessing this is the edge on a 5x5, so it's kind of like 5x5 magnets. Actually, it might be similar to the VinCube 4x4 magnets that Steven made, the LBL one. If you put a wing next to this thing, it snaps pretty well. Okay, so not only do these pieces... Wait. That's pretty insane. These pieces don't attract at all. These pieces do. Yep. But there's no magnets here. Interesting. The only way there's magnetized is between this edge. That's actually quite interesting, and I've never seen a cube like that before. I'm not sure that's innovative, but that's interesting. Alright, let's put this thing back together. I'm wondering if that change in magnet placement makes this cube more stable. Because that's another thing I didn't really mention, but this cube feels really stable. Also, for the price of this thing, it's up on pre-order at the Cubicle right now, if you want to go check it out. But the base version is like 20 bucks, and this is like 50 something, so a bit more expensive. But if you don't care about these strong magnets, Honestly, this cube is pretty solid for 20 bucks. Alright, to know if this is my main, obviously I have to compare it with other cubes. My main right now is the mini Geelong. These smell bigger, but this cube's actually really small. It's like smaller than the square one. The crazy thing is, the inner layers on this cube is smaller than on the mini Geelong. Actually, it's pretty close. Not sure if it's smaller, but pretty close. The reason why it's bigger is because of the outer layers. And yeah, this thing can be pretty unstable at times. This thing can be more stable, so I think you can loosen it a bit more. A lot of people made the Aosu worm, so this is I guess the V6 and here's the V7. Size comparison, a bit smaller, so maybe it's 58.5 millimeters. I'm not sure, but again, the difference is not really the size. I think it's more that the outer layers are bigger and the middle layers are smaller. I think that's more noticeable than the actual size of the cube itself. This worm has always been pretty stable, and it's cutting 45, which is pretty crazy. And this is always a cube I liked, but I didn't like it because it's a bit too big. That was my one gripe with it. This one a bit smaller. One thing is that this cube gets slow pretty easily. I'm hoping this cube does not have this same issue. Magnets are also definitely stronger on the new cube. There's also the Aosu GTS 2. I'm not sure how many people use this, but it's quite a bit bigger. This cube actually feels quite different. It's more crunchy. This one, it's more swishy and smooth, I feel like. The engine also has a 404 that's pretty underrated. This one is just a bit heavy, I think, which reminds me of how light this cube actually is. It's actually pretty light. Alright, MGC, most people use these days, or a lot of people do. Bit of a difference. Out of the box, MGC feels a bit faster. It's also more loud and it gets more crunchy during break-in. This one's a bit closer to the regular Worm 404 in terms of feel. Here's the Steven. And this is the cube I thought had the same magnet mechanism. I think it has magnets in the inner edge. It's not really easy to tell though. All I know is that the magnets on this cube are pretty strong. This one with modified magnets is still not as strong. But comparing with these cubes, this cube is quite unique. Smaller size. Smaller inner layer is definitely a big change. Magnets are strong, but the feel is pretty similar to the regular Worm 404. So what I'm thinking is I do a few solves, set this thing up, maybe tension it a little bit, and update you guys if this is my main. Alright, so after doing some solves on this cube, I think it's pretty good. It's stable, it performs well, and its size works. The outer layers feels like something like an MGC or a Vin cube, because the size of the layers are pretty much the exact same. But the interesting thing is when you turn the inner layers, it feels like a mini Geelong. So slice moves are definitely harder, so I have to get used to that. But I use a method that has a lot more slice moves, so it's something I have to work on for sure. The main thing of this cube is that it's pretty similar to the old Worm. It performs well, but I wish it would be a bit more fast. And even when playing around with tensions, there are still some locking issues. So yeah, this cube is not perfect by any means, but it's definitely really good. If you do want to pre-order it, there's nothing wrong with going with the cheaper versions. You're saving like half the price, and I think the magnets in the middle don't do too much. There's also a GAN 44 coming out soon, so maybe stay tuned for that. But right now, I still think this is the best option. But that's it for this video, and thanks for watching.